Hi everyone, I'm Chrissy B and you are watching The Chrissy B Show. And what do we have in store for you today on the UK's only programme dedicated to your mental health and well-being? Well, we are delving into the interesting and sometimes controversial subject of placebos and the placebo effect. According to webmed.com, a placebo is anything that seems to be a real medical treatment but isn't. It could be a pill, a shot, or some other type of fake treatment. And Psychology Today said that the placebo effect is a kind of mental magic trick that has been shown to boost immunity and alleviate pain, even if you know it's all in your head. They also say that sometimes the simple act of believing you're going to get better can actually make you get better. It's a psychological cure for very physical ailments. Though the placebo throws a physician's honesty into question, many patients make lasting improvements with its aid. Now, this is a very interesting topic and we are going to be exploring this first of all with Dr. Audrey Tang, our resident psychologist. And what's the link with placebos and nutrition? Hannah Richards is going to be telling us all about that. Helena Chard is back with us to talk about the news around this subject in A Helping of Happy, and Sanni Sorma will be talking about the placebo effect in beauty and makeup. So those are all the guests for our main topic, but what else do we have for you today? I'll be welcoming back on autism correspondent Anna Kennedy with her guest Alessandra Bester, who created the No-No chocolate. This creation was originally made for her autistic son who had various allergies, but is now available to everyone. She'll be telling us about this exciting journey. And of course we have on our good doctor Rob Hicks to answer any medical questions you may have. But let's kick off the show today with Dr. Audrey Tang. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thanks for having me, Chrissy.
And everybody, this show was actually prompted by one of Audrey's followers on social media who calls himself Bold Extraordinary You. And he said, I'm fascinated by the placebo effect and how our thoughts and beliefs impact on our well-being. So thank you so much for sending that in and inspiring today's topic.
Yes.
It's great, isn't it?
It's wonderful. He's also a life coach as well, so
yeah.
it's great. Thank you so much for that.
Amazing. So can you tell us a bit more about placebos, Audrey, and how they work?
The placebo effect is basically an intervention, or when an intervention which has no known medical effect whatsoever ends up causing a medical effect. Mm-hmm. So it might be, for example, taking an empty gel capsule, thinking that it will stop a headache, and then it's stopping a headache. But of course, there's been nothing inside there at all, and your headache's gone away. And that's the placebo effect. It's the effect of having something happen when nothing was supposed to.
Okay.
And it's fascinating, though.
It is.
And it's one of those effects where they've done so much research on this. Apparently, it shows the power of the brain. You can actually open somebody up, make an incision, sew them back up again, not actually do the treatment, and it can have the effect of them.
So they've had surgery.
Exactly, going on a little bit longer. 2 pills are better than 1 pill to get the placebo effect, and an injection is the best of all. It can make a difference what colour the pills are as well, and if you really want it to work, the higher your expectation, the more likely it is to work. Also, the higher your pain or the higher whatever it is you're trying to stop, the more it will work as well.
Okay,
absolutely
interesting.
Crazy effect.
Can it work in a negative way as well?
Unfortunately, yes, and the negativity comes in the areas of trust and the areas of ethics. In terms of trust, one of the things that I would probably ask myself is if I found out my doctor had been prescribing me a placebo for a number of years, even if it had been working, that would damage the trust I had in that person. So that would be something. But then ethically, if it's been shown that you can just make an incision and sew someone up again, does that mean we should stop doing life-saving operations? The other problem can be that I won't name names in terms of pharmaceuticals, but if I take a painkiller for my head, can I take the same painkiller for my back, or must I take something which says for back pain? When it comes to the placebo effect, it tends to work more for nausea and for pain. Both of those receptors are in the brain. Therefore, it really does become questionable in terms of people marketing certain things to us. But of course, the placebo effect then works against us in that respect, because if you firmly believe, oh my goodness, I must take something which says back pain on the label, then you may find it doesn't work if you just take a normal painkiller.
Oh, right.
So that can be a problem.
It's a bit confusing sometimes, isn't it?
It is. It's such a powerful effect, and no one really knows why it works.
Yeah.
It may be because someone's more, not susceptible, suggestible than others. It might also be because you also get the effect reported back to you. If you have a great relationship with that patient and you're really enthusiastic about that treatment, that patient wants to please you and they will say they have had an effect when perhaps they haven't.
Okay.
The word of warning comes in when there may be an effect which is hormonal, so there could be something going on even if it's not what it's supposed to be, or rather you've taken something which is supposed to have no effect whatsoever, but it is actually making changes.
Okay.
And it's also worth remembering that whilst there has been a lot of research on pain and nausea, research on asthma, for example, taking a placebo made people feel better, but it didn't actually change the lung functioning.
Okay.
So there may not be these physiological changes.
And how about the link to mental health?
Again, it comes down with the whole trust issue. If your trust has been damaged by somebody giving you a placebo and then you realising it, that can be a real problem, because then who do you trust? That's somebody that you've worked with for a length of time. It's a difficult one as well, because sometimes you might get an intervention which is cultural. So there's been research where somebody who believes they've been cursed will not respond to Western medicine until the curse has been removed, or they believe the curse has been removed. So again, it's very powerful as well. Similarly, you don't actually have to be ill in order to have the placebo effect. You can have that with, it's been shown that if someone thinks they're drinking alcohol and they're not, they do begin to feel a little bit tipsy. Similar with caffeine, if you're told you're drinking caffeine, you may feel a little bit more hyperactive. So in terms of the link with mental health, there is a huge, huge link with the brain. Whether it's good or bad sometimes depends on how you're interacting with that placebo.
Okay. Brilliant. Audrey, thank you so much. Really interesting stuff.
It really
thank you.
is.
And we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Well, everyone, now it's time to head over to our nutritionist, Hannah Richards, to talk to us about placebos and food. Welcome to the show, Hannah.
Hi, Chrissy.
So we know that obviously food is healing to the body, the right nutrition. But if someone has a very strong belief that certain foods can heal them, is that going to make more of a difference than it would have otherwise?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's about the belief that a person has about the food or about the medication or about the therapy, and that belief comes in a stronger light depending on whether they believe the person that's told them as well. Okay. So we all know that eating fruit and vegetables is good for us, but if, let's say, you had a condition, let's say you had a skin rash, and I said to you, if you eat 3 portions of green vegetables every day, that's going to really increase your chances of healing that skin rash and reduce the inflammation in your body, because green vegetables are full of magnesium and blah, 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 blah. You're going to go, oh God, I didn't realise that, and okay, I'll do that. Of course I'll give that a shot. And so if you believe me, then you've got more chance of healing the issue. Not to say that green vegetables are going to heal skin rashes, but do you understand so it's all about the belief that a person has, and how well they believe the person telling them as well. That's the placebo effect.
Yeah, and if, for example, there is indeed certain foods that do help a certain condition, is the placebo effect then not effective anymore?
No, I think it is, and I think it's proven that it works. So irrespective of whether the food's going to heal, it's scientifically proven to heal something. If I tell you it's going to, then it will have some benefit if you believe me. So
how much more?
30%. It's always proven that the placebo takes up a good 30%. That will happen. So if we start the conversation by, let's say I say to you, I think we need to do some acupuncture here, but you said to me, you didn't believe it. You didn't believe acupuncture worked. You didn't understand it. You didn't believe how that could work. There'd be no point me saying to you, do some acupuncture, because you already disbelieve. Whereas you come in and say, oh, my friend did this when she had that, I'm more likely to give you that course of therapy or ideas, because you already share a belief that that's going to work. So the power of the thought, the power of the belief, it will increase your healing, whether it's with a food, whether it's with an activity, or whether it's with a therapy.
So Hannah, in terms of actual food that does then heal, what were your recommendations?
So obviously it's a big question and there's lots of different things we need to heal, but essentially you'd be wanting to say to people, you know, if we can heal this condition through food, nutrition and lifestyle. So we'd be saying you want to make sure you're eating food every day that came from Mother Nature, that came from the soil, that was grown and picked and fell off a tree, grew up from a ground, because that food's got the most nutrition in it. And if you ate that food, then you'd have a higher nutrition in your diet and your body would respond better than it would do if you were eating foods that had come from the supermarket where it could stay on a shelf for over a year. And that power of understanding that process would increase the healing chances tenfold because the power of food is huge. And we've known that for years and years and years. We just got to a place where we think that pills and pharmaceuticals could work better. But it is actually, the wellness world now is coming back to this belief of food is powerful. Herbs, spices, nutrition is really the way that people's thought processes are moving on to. And that's why it's really blown up at the moment.
Definitely. Hannah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and we'll see you again very soon, hopefully with a recipe next time.
Absolutely.
We'll get cooking again.
We will.
Thank you. Well, everyone, after the break, we have on Helena Chard with a helping of happy, and also Sanni Sorma will be talking about the placebo effect in beauty and makeup. But first, is this true or false? Fertility can be affected by the placebo effect. Find out the answer after this break. Welcome back to today's Chrissy B show, everybody. Now, before the break, I asked you if this was true or false. Fertility can be affected by the placebo effect. The answer is true. According to top10s.net, in one study, a group of 55 women that had polycystic ovarian syndrome were trying to get pregnant. Over the course of 6 months, 33 of the participants were given a placebo and 32 were given fertility drugs. Out of the placebo group, 5 of the 33 women got pregnant, while 7 of the 32 women receiving the drugs were able to get pregnant, making the difference statistically insignificant. In other tests, the pregnancy rate is as high as 40% while taking a placebo, and researchers believe that the women in these tests were less stressed, making them more likely to get pregnant. Absolutely fascinating. Well, now it's time to go to the news with our lovely Helena Chard. Welcome to the show, Helena.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Interesting topic, isn't it?
So interesting. The brain is just such a powerful entity, isn't it? Incredible. Anyway, so Surgeon Henry Beecher, this is World War II we're talking about.
Okay.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, and he was at his wit's end because he realised he had lots of soldiers that obviously needed treatment, and he was working on a particular soldier and they ran out of morphine. A nurse thought on her feet and gave the soldier a shot of saline with salt and water. And immediately the soldier calmed down, was quite calm. He carried out the procedure and sewed it up, and he felt little pain. Wow. How
amazing.
About that? That was in the Second World War. I mean, he went on to do lots of research after that because he couldn't believe it. But I'm moving on to another surgeon. This is not so long ago, the Second World War, Dr Bruce Moseley. And the reason I'm talking about him is because he was absolutely sceptic about it. He didn't believe in it at all, but now he's took part in a placebo trial, and now he's a strong believer in how incredible it is, because it's just as much about how people perceive the and feel about the surgery that helped them recover, and he realised that. And he was it was to do with the pain management scenario, and he had lots of volunteers who had knee surgery, and as you can imagine, there was placebo and there was genuine surgery. But when they do it, when they actually do the surgery, you've got the clanking and the running of water and utensils and the filming in the background. So it was all done completely like surgery. And the guys that were given the placebo, they learnt it 2 years later, and apparently everybody said it worked incredibly well.
Wow, okay.
And even 7 years later, they spoke to one guy, and Utimi Perez, and he still doesn't have the pain, and he cannot believe that his mind really helped cure himself.
Wow.
Which is absolutely incredible. Amazing as well, animal placebos. Placebo also occurs amongst dogs and other animals. It's a similar thing. It's weird, isn't it? Because apparently pharmaceutical companies employ the same double-blind procedures on dogs with canine medicine, and it's a similar thing, and they've reacted positively to it. I think a lot of it's to do with love and care and attention as well. I would think that goes into it.
As we heard from the quiz as well, the fact that those women were less stressed.
Yes.
And they thought it was doing them good.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of various things, pill colours and everything. I know Audrey was talking about, because we love shapes and colours, and there's all these different things that we react to. Yellow placebo pills are the most effective at treating depression, and there's all these different colour pills which mean lots of things. But moving on to, a study suggests that the placebo effect can mend a broken heart.
Oh.
Which in a way you can see it's sort of fake it until you make it kind of thing. And researchers at the University of Colorado Boulder found that simply believing in your sort of, if you're doing something and you're working towards something positive to get over your ex, it can actually influence the brain.
Okay.
So yeah, making you feel better. So it's the placebo effect, which is fantastic.
Well, it's taking your mind off something, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
it is. It's completely taking your mind. So it's a bit NLP in a way, isn't it? Neurolinguist. There's far more to it. Yeah. But I won't go into it now. But I mean, basically, when facing a broken heart, you can find mental strategy to deal with it, and then obviously leading you on to better times.
Okay. Brilliant. Helena, thank you so much for
Thank you,
time.
Chrissy.
Spot on. And we'll see you again next week for more
Look
news.
forward to it.
Thank you. Well, everybody, now it's time to talk to Sanni Sorma about placebos and beauty.
Hi, my name is Sanni, and I am the beauty and makeup expert here at the Chrissy B Show. Now, we're talking about the placebo effect today, and makeup for me personally is one of those things where a placebo effect really, really shows itself. Now, I have experienced it many times on myself, but I also notice it with my clients when I'm putting makeup on them, and the way I speak to them and what I tell them, for example, a red lipstick will do to them, it will actually work. Now, I've got a few tips about the placebo effect of makeup, and you can just try these on yourself on days when you don't feel perfect, when you don't feel that great, and just try it, and it might work for you as well. So my number one tip is find your red lipstick and wear it. Now, my happy red is actually a very cool red. I'm wearing it today, and I will show you. So lipsticks and reds come in all sorts of shades. A lot of people tell me that they can't wear red. Most people can actually wear red. It is a matter of trying these lipsticks out. Usually what I suggest is you try them out on the back of your hand, leave the store and find one that really works with your skin tone, and then maybe try that one on your lips. Leave the store again. Be a pain, it's worth it. Because when you find your red, your skin will glow and you will feel and look happier. Now, another great trick to do is, especially on days when I feel really tired, like for example, this morning I only had 4 hours of sleep, and that's not very much for me at all. I've actually today highlighted the inner corner of my eye. I'm wearing almost no other eye makeup, but I put a little highlighter in the inner corner. Now, by highlight, I mean a sparkly color. It doesn't need to be like a white one. So I'm wearing a champagne one. If you've got a darker skin tone, it could be a gold one or a light bronzy one. Basically something to bring light into the inner corner of the eye. And that's really gonna wake you up. And if you look more awake when you look in the mirror, your brain's gonna think that you're more awake. And hopefully you're just gonna feel a whole lot more awake and alert. Well, if the placebo effect works, that is. This is one of my favorite ones. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, a little bit depressed, just try this trick out, I do it on myself all the time, is give yourself a little face massage. Now, I use a face oil. You don't need to buy a special face oil. You can use olive oil, you can use coconut oil, oils that we already have in our kitchen. And what I do is I start off under the chin. I do this a few times. Then I actually pinch around my jawline. But the main thing that for me, that actually really kind of makes me feel happy is going around the brow bone. And if I had oil in my fingers now, I would actually slide it around. I don't, so I'm just kind of pressing. I do a combination of all of these movements on myself. And it is really, I think it's, you know, it's the power of touch as well. So you are actually showing yourself some love. So personally, for me, it really works. And, you know, take a minute or two to try it out, and it might work for you as well. Now, this is one for the ladies. That time of the month, most of us get a little tiny bit bloated, and we don't feel our best anyways due to hormonal changes, but also then we don't really look our best. So contouring is a great way to counteract that. Now, contouring has been really popular in the last year, and it's kind of gone almost way too far for me. What I mean by contouring is using, for example, for myself, I've got quite a light skin tone, so I would use the lightest contour. If you've got darker skin tone, you would use a slightly darker one. Just chiseling your cheekbones a little bit and then going under to create a better jawline. So when you just do a couple of little tiny things, it kind of pulls things in, and if you add some highlight, it can either be a yellowy highlight if you're a darker skin tone, or like a champagne if you're a lighter skin tone, and then you put it on the highest part of your cheekbones, maybe a little bit on the nose, maybe a little bit just between these two bits of contour. It'll really catch the light, so the contrast between the light and the dark will create more definition. So if your face is feeling a little bit bloated, it's actually a really good way to counteract that. And then again, when you catch a glimpse in the mirror, you'll look a little bit less bloated, a little bit slimmer, so hopefully feel happier. And then this is a big one for when I need to feel very professional, when I need to feel like I'm on top of my game. I always have my eyebrows done. I have them done professionally, so I have them either waxed or threaded. Preference is yours. And then, because mine are very, very light, I fill them in. I brush them. So I use a little brow brush, and then I fill them in with a pencil. And brows kind of they lift the face, and I always feel like it makes me feel more, I guess, in control is what I'm looking for. And it makes me feel more professional and put together, I would say. So those were my tips on how to use makeup as a little bit of a placebo and hopefully feel happier and better for it. So my name is Sanni, and I am the beauty and makeup specialist here on the Chrissy B Show. See you next time.
Thank you very much to Sanni. Well, do join us after the break, because we have on autism correspondent Anna Kennedy with her guest Alessandra Bester, who created the No-No chocolate. Welcome back to today's Chrissy B Show, everyone. And now I'm delighted to welcome on autism correspondent Anna Kennedy with her guest Alessandra Bester, who created the No-No chocolate. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Hello.
It's lovely to have you on. So before we speak to you, Alessandra, because you've got a remarkable story, first let's get some updates from Anna. What's been happening, Anna?
Busy as always.
Yes.
We're working on a new project in Essex. So if you remember Aston, who was on here a little while back,
yes,
he had a not a very good experience with the police a few years ago. So what we're doing now is we're working with first responders in Essex. So we've got a whole day where we're going to be working with the police, the ambulance service and the fire service. So we're going to be working with the Autism Reality Bus, which is something that the charity is getting involved with now in collaboration. So basically it's a 3-minute experience of what it's like to have a sensory overload. And it's quite overwhelming. So a lot of parents...
I'd like to see what that's like.
Yeah, I'm going to actually bring in a guest on next month. You'll be able to have a chat and talk about it. But it's really quite overwhelming. A lot of parents have been in there, come out in tears, and even professionals have said, right, okay, I get it now. I sort of get it.
You need to go through that just to
you do,
don't
yeah.
you?
So I'm really excited about that project, and if it works well, we're going to hopefully take it across the country.
So, Anna, how do you know Alessandra here?
Well, apparently I met Alessandra about 10 years ago, she tells me, but I can't remember. But we actually know each other from 2 years ago when at Brunel University, I met you there at the expo,
That's
our
right.
charity expo, and then you introduced your chocolates to everyone.
And it was an amazing event, and meeting so many parents who seem to have a very similar problem as I've had with my son.
Tell us about that. What
It's called no-no because my son would say no to every food, or particularly no-no. And it's also no-no because it's free from gluten, dairy, nuts, any artificial ingredients. Organic ingredients instead, no GMO. So with autism and nutrition, very often children can be quite reactive to all sorts of different substances. And to find something that's healthy to snack on, that it's actually free from everything, it was quite hard. But the truffles were created more because my son didn't eat at all.
What was that like for you as a mum when you were experiencing
Well, quite hopeless because the medical professionals wouldn't have any answers apart from surgically feeding him with food that was upsetting his tummy anyway, so it wouldn't really solve the problem. I've noticed that he wasn't able to test particularly well, so creating things that were quite strong in flavor, interesting in texture, chunky, crunchy. There are tests and flavors, so flavors are the one that you can actually test, and then they are one that you can smell more so. And so we reactivate my son's mouth, so he was more able to test and get more attracted to normal food. But in the process, he pretty much lived on those little bites that were very appealing because they were pretty.
Did you make them yourself at first?
Yeah.
Dedication,
some many moons ago, I had a stage 4 cancer, and I took a chance and participated in functional medicine intervention and recover from my stage 4 cancer. So then functional foods became the first place to look at when my son was reacting to all sorts of different medication. And the whole discovery of what it's in nature. Well, it's everything that we need. It's in nature. We don't really need synthetic medicine. It was just a question of finding the compounds, learning how much to put in to make an impact, make a difference.
That must have been quite a process though, wasn't it?
But so interesting.
Really?
Fascinating. And, while I was researching that, the whole foodie world and superfoods were in, and I would look upon them and thinking, yeah, you think that goji berry are superfoods. Well, you need to eat half a kilo of that to have the same amount of...
I just bought goji berries today, and she says, should I throw them in the bin?
No, well, they are serving a purpose in the part of the world where there is no other sources of vitamin C. But you have one apple, a bag of goji berry. Well,
interesting. Okay, right.
Yeah, but things like, for instance, camu camu, which is a fruit that once freeze-dried and made into powder, you only need a tiny little bit to make this your daily amount of antioxidants.
Really?
And so that's what's in one truffle. And then things like, beetroot, taking one beetroot freeze dry, it becomes a spoon of powder, and that's in one bag of snack. So when you think about one of your 5 a day, or the nutrition that's vital and the fiber that's vital. Well, why did I put that into chocolate? Well, it's very much because I am behaviorist as well. So I know that people are not going to change overnight. We would want to indulge. We are the nation addicted to sugar.
Yes,
and if there was an offering that was much better for you, that still had the cocoa butter and all this saturated fat that you normally get in real chocolate, but all the other ingredients are there to support as well. And then we've noticed that with adding proteins to the chocolate, it stops you from eating too many of those. So you might want to...
That's what I was thinking about, because I'm thinking they look so delicious and they smell amazing as well. And I was thinking, but I would probably sit and eat the whole box.
No, well, we've tried, and the Brno University actually did some tests on some of the protein chocolates, and they quite quickly tell your brain you've eaten, and that's it. But what's really amazing in the process of building the company from home kitchen, you know, coming out of depression and being miserable because I couldn't really find a job as a single mom of a child with complex needs, autism. So I thought, if I can find a way of working around that.
And I've been to her home. She's just like the kitchen, the house, everything's all in one place.
It's super organized.
How did you feel when you made the very first chocolate and your son tried it? Were you anxious whether he was going to eat it or not?
Well, so the behaviorist strategy was to put it there and leave it, and don't propose, don't impose, don't suggest, none of that. And so he will, when he went for the heart shape, and kind of explored it, and then the moment when he actually had a first bite, then it just went.
Oh, that must have been such a great feeling for you.
It is, especially when you have a child who's so underweight, who looks like a zombie, whose eyes are deep, and he's pale, and you just wish that there was some kind of magic that will get him.
Well, you created the magic, didn't you? You did it yourself. Wow, that's amazing.
So these, how many of those would you say he eats now?
Well, he doesn't anymore.
Oh, he doesn't?
So I think the reason why I keep creating different boxes is because he kind of gets been there, done that. I want something
keeps you on your toes, doesn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing.
So, like, for instance, now I'm thinking about how can I put so much broccoli into his body using a broccoli powder. So the other day I made a curry, and instead of using flour to thicken up the sauce, I used the broccoli powder.
Very
so he's literally in his meal. He had a half of what would be the normal broccoli, and he
and he doesn't know. Very
green
clever.
curry. Imagine you can play those tricks on your husbands too.
And the amazing thing is now, as it's taken off, you're selling this to all different types of people.
First of all, they're allergy friendly, so there's a lot of people who can't get a box of chocolate because they have multiple allergies. You know, it's only been a year or two where you can get gluten and dairy free something, but to get gluten, dairy, nuts free, other things free, it's quite a novel thing. And we are at the Allergy and Free From show in Olympia again this year, which is a fantastic place to be, and the magic that comes from, you know, seeing a young child with allergy who's never tried chocolate before, and then they get to try it for the first time, and you see their faces, and you don't even have to ask, did you like it? It's like the face brights up.
Your face is bright. I was talking about
just thinking about.
You can see, it's just such an amazing thing to have accomplished as well. It's just brilliant.
Well, that's not the end of it. I think me and Anna, we have that in common. You know, there's so many problems to solve. Well, the company was kind of building gradually at home. My son was very much part of it, and he's severely autistic, and yet he was able to participate in production and packaging and so on. And then, you know, obviously the light bulb went on. What's going to happen when he's 16, right? Can he work for the companies? Is there a role for him? And when I noticed how easy it was for someone with his fine motor delay to attend a lot of the tasks, I instantly thought about the network in autism community that I've already had, being campaigner and volunteering and doing all sorts of different projects in Camden. So I had a link with a college for young people with special needs, and I went, bring it on, the students, let them make the chocolate. And it's growing, and we are planning to move a kitchen and expand and do more.
Amazing.
It's been a fantastic experience. We're learning so much from the young people, and I think the highlight of having people with autism working for us is that you can never pay anyone enough to come to work with this level of enthusiasm as they do.
Yeah, because when I went to the kitchen, there was 2 students there working. They were so proud to show me what they'd done, and then I presented them with certificates as well. So it was, it's great, and that was great. And then one of the teachers I actually knew had met, but he just sort of turned up at the door. I thought, what are you doing here? But it's just like, no, it's definitely an exciting project, and we've been talking about some stuff that we might like to do next year.
Okay, brilliant. So we'll watch this space. Well, there's only one thing left to do.
Yeah,
is to try the chocolates, even though we've completely run out of time. But never mind. What one do you suggest I try?
I don't know. I think
they look so amazing.
You really need to pick and choose.
Okay.
So go for what tickles.
I'm going to try the beetroot one because I do like beetroot anyway. Is this the first one you created, wasn't it?
Yes.
Some?
Anna.
Go on, Anna.
Which one haven't I tried? I'll try this one.
How safe.
That is lovely.
Thank you. No,
and healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's delicious. Thank you so much, Alessandra, for sharing your story. Amazing, amazing journey that you've been on. Brilliant. So, Anna, we'll see you again very soon as well. In the
look forward to meeting you again.
Thanks so much. All right, everybody, don't go away, because after the break, I speak to Dr. Rob Hicks, who'll be answering your medical queries, such as this one. I'm 35, and for the last few months, my periods have been very heavy. Is it normal for periods to get heavier as you get older? Find out the answer after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, where we've been covering the topic of the placebo effect, among other things. But now it's time to talk to Dr. Rob Hicks in this week's Doctor's Answers. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Excellent. Ready to go?
What do you think about the placebo effect, by the way?
Oh, it's real.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And it is partly what a person's beliefs are and how well the treatment is sold. But there's plenty of studies, solid research studies that show that there's a placebo effect in most things.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's get to our questions for today, shall we? Okay, so this person's saying, I'm young and generally healthy, but lately I've been feeling really tired and under the weather. I just don't seem to have much energy, and even walking sometimes makes me feel out of breath after a while. I don't smoke and I'm not overweight, so I don't know what the problem could be.
Challenging one, this is, because this is going to impact on this person's daily living as much as suffering with the symptoms.
Even walking, same,
The first thing you've got to do, obviously, with these sort of symptoms is have a checkup with your doctor, and before you go along, think about whether you've got other symptoms. So, have you been losing weight without trying? Are you getting breathless, as you say? How often is that happening? Are you suffering with ankle swelling, for example? All those sort of symptoms may contribute to different medical causes of the symptoms you're describing. Have you recently had an infection? Because actually people can feel tired and out of breath as their body is healing. So if you've had a chest infection, sometimes it can take a number of weeks before your breathing comes back to normal and you get your energy levels back. Could this simply be that you've become a bit unfit and you need to do more exercise, more activity to get your fitness back? Is it related to the fact that with the tiredness, the fact that you're not getting a good night's sleep, so you've got some degree of insomnia? These are both symptoms you describe, certainly the tiredness and sometimes shortness of breath if it's associated with anxiety that comes with depression. So could that be the answer? Could you be stressed? Because both of those symptoms can occur with stress. So have you had a life change, new job, lost a job, new relationship, ended a relationship, a bereavement, for example? Are you on any medication that may have this as side effects? Then, of course, there are medical conditions, anemia, underactive thyroid, diabetes can cause certainly tiredness and certainly breathlessness with regards to anemia. So these are the reasons why you need to have this checked out, and I wouldn't wait around. Soon you get a diagnosis, soon you get the treatment, soon you get better.
Yeah. Next one, Rob. Can someone with the thalassemia trait give blood?
Simple answer, yes. Provided at the time that their hemoglobin levels are good. And hemoglobin is the substance in the blood that actually helps carry oxygen around the body. So if you've got thalassemia trait, or you're what's also known as thalassemia carrier, then yes, you can give blood. Remember that thalassemia is a genetically inherited condition where, because of an abnormal gene, a faulty gene, people don't make enough or indeed any hemoglobin, and that puts them at risk of developing anemia. It's why the condition is treated with blood transfusions. But speak to your local blood donation service just to make sure. But generally speaking, the answer is yes, and well done for you for thinking about it, because lots of people need donated blood.
Brilliant. Next question. I'm 35 and for the last few months my periods have been very heavy. Is it normal for periods to get heavier as you get older?
Whether it's normal or not, I mean, it's very common as a woman ages for there to be many different changes in periods. So sometimes they become lighter, but for many they become heavier. So it is possible. In up to about 50% of cases, nobody ever manages to find the reason why this happens. However, there are some underlying medical conditions that can make this possible. So, for example, gynecological conditions like endometriosis, like fibroids in the womb, like pelvic inflammatory disease, like polyps, whether in the womb or around the cervix, for example. An underactive thyroid can also result in excessive heavy periods as well. And sometimes medical treatments can cause this. So if somebody's taken blood thinning medication, anticoagulants, they might find that they bleed more, they have heavier periods. Or if they've had a coil put in for contraception over the subsequent 3 to 6 months, often a woman's periods will become heavier. And sometimes other medications may be responsible as well. So really, if you've noticed a change, it's very important that you have a checkup. And your doctor will run tests to see whether you're anemic and also to see whether there's an underlying medical condition. And you'll probably be advised to have a scan, an ultrasound scan as well, to see if there's any sort of evidence of fibroids, for example. And then, you know, depending on the underlying cause, then they can be treated, and that can be often with what's called a special type of coil that actually has a progesterone hormone in it that is delivered into the body over a set period of time. It's called an IUS, an intrauterine system, or you might be offered medication that actually reduces bleeding, or indeed hormonal treatment that actually just regulates periods. But have a checkup and get to the bottom of what's causing it in the first place.
Okay, and last question for today, Rob. I'm really suffering with hay fever. I've tried all sorts of different pills, nasal sprays, eye drops, and there is a little relief, but I still feel pretty awful. Is there anything stronger that I can get hold of that will help me?
You know what, there's lots of things that people can do for hay fever, and often people forget the basics.
Yeah, and rely on the medication too much.
And the basics here is what we look at with hay fever management is avoidance, so avoidance of the pollen. The next is treatment of the symptoms, and the next is prevention of the symptoms. So from a point of view of avoiding the pollen, very, very important to keep an eye on the pollen count, and if it's going to be high in your area, ideally stay indoors with the windows closed. It's best if you have to go out during those high pollen count days, then go out in the middle of the day when the pollen is going to be higher up in the atmosphere. You know, pollen is closer to the ground early in the morning and late afternoon, early evening. When you come in from outdoors, if you can, strip off your clothes, put them in a bin bag or stick them straight in the washing machine, and then go and have a shower. Shower your body and indeed wash your hair, because we carry pollen in on our clothes and in our hair. And what most of us do is we wander in, we go to the kitchen, we put on the kettle, we then go to our bedroom, maybe change into our home clothes, and in that process we're spreading pollen throughout. And dogs and cats and pets do that as well. So when they come in, damp wipe them. Make sure that ideally you could make use of you could think about using an air purifier, use a vacuum cleaner with a HEPA filter. Those sorts of things can help reduce your exposure to pollen. Obviously, things you shouldn't do: don't walk in the grass, don't cut the grass, don't put your washing out on pollen days, because the pollen sticks to the clothes and the washing, and of course you then bring it in, so you're bringing the pollen indoors. Stay away from smokers, because they make symptoms worse as well. Then the other thing with medicines is people tend to take them on an as-needed basis, which is fine if it works, but often if it doesn't work, you need then to use them on a regular basis, ideally starting at least a month before your pollen season. So that includes the antihistamines, that includes the nasal sprays and the eye drops, and use a nasal balm barrier that you sort of smear around the nostrils to catch the pollen, to stop it from getting in and triggering a response. Ask your doctor about steroids, ask your doctor about immunotherapy. Those are stronger treatments, and some people benefit from those.
Rob, thank you so much. That's it for today.
My pleasure,
and
as
we'll
always.
see you again next time.
Yes, you will.
And everybody, if you have a question for Rob, all you need to do is email doctor@chrissybshow.tv. Well, now everyone, it's time for my final thought of the day. Okay, Okay, so I'd like to now share my thoughts about this subject. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about expectations and also belief, because indeed, what we believe has a massive impact on the things that happen to us. I remember speaking quite recently to a lady. I was actually trying to help her because she'd been going through severe depression and stuff like that. And I was telling her my story. And she said, I was telling her basically I was free from depression, that it hasn't come back, that I'm completely free from it. And she turned around and she said to me, well, it's only a matter of time and something's going to trigger it and then you're going to get depressed again. And I said, well, no, actually, I'm not going to get depressed. And I haven't been depressed for over 20 years and I'm strong, I'm different inside. So how will I allow that to come back to me again? I won't, because I'm a different person to what I was back then. And she said, oh, well, then you're just one of the lucky ones. So of course, if you keep thinking in that way, if a person has that in their head that, okay, I've got depression, for example, and this is it for me, and I'm only going to be able to manage it with medication, and something's going to trigger it in the future, then you will always be depressed. That's the final thing. You will be depressed for life. However, if you believe, as I did, when I was depressed, even though I was feeling really bad, but I still had this tiny bit of hope inside that one day I would get better, and I held on to that. And what did that do? Because I believed in that I could be different, because I believed that I could be healed from depression, it kept me going and looking for help. If, for example, I was that kind of person that thought, well, okay, this is it for me, I'm depressed, there's no cure, then I wouldn't have bothered knocking on different doors, because the first few things that I tried didn't work for me, but I didn't give up. And that is actually the key. If you keep that belief inside of you that you can get better, that you will be able to change your life, you will look for ways of change. You will look, even if someone doesn't help you, you're going to go to somewhere else and then somewhere else, and eventually you will find the right help because you are actively looking for it. You believe that it's possible. But if you believe that something is impossible, it will be impossible for you. So do bear that in mind. You know, never think, for example, that you know, this is it for you and there's no hope of change. If that's the case, how come there are so many people that don't have depression anymore? And if you want, I could share many stories with you. If you want to contact me personally, I can share many, many stories of people just like me who went through worse things than me, had more severe mental health issues than me, that today are completely different. They don't have any mental health issues whatsoever anymore. So it's possible. So remember, what you expect normally happens. So if you expect good things, then chances are that you will look for ways of making your life more positive. If all you're expecting are bad things, then your behavior, the things that you might not bother trying to do is going to have an effect on you. That's how it goes. I call it positive faith and negative faith. Faith works either way, whether it's in a positive way or you have a negative faith in a negative way, it's going to happen. So just bear that in mind and believe that your life can actually change. Well, everyone, that's it for today's program. But if you have a story that you would like to share, then please do get in touch with us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet or Instagram us on @ChrissyBShow, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you'd like to know more about my mental health journey, please do visit my website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, bye for now. Amazing journey that you've been on. Brilliant. And you're right there. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I can't remember what we've got afterwards. What's next, guys? I need to see the next bit. Yeah. All right, let's end this bit. We'll try some more. Okay. I was saying bye, wasn't I? Yeah. Keep chewing. All right. So Anna, thank you so much as well. We'll see you again very soon.